that you enjoy. I would just like to give a very big thank you to my Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, Duck Machine, Try Again 95, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Fudic Joel, Germanchemist, and Casper Amholtz. Thank you again very much. How They See With Their Hands, written by Slow-Ad2584. Case study, human medium nerve and internal space mapping and object modeling. Subject to study is human sensory usage of the hands. Upon scan of typical human nervous system, an anomaly was observed. A medium nerve of disproportionate size ran from the neck spinal cord down each arm to the thumb, index, and middle fingers of each hand. This nerve bundle is huge, equivalent to the size and complexity of the human optic nerve behind each eye. Hypothesis is that the medium nerve's complexity is related to tool use and fine motor control. But another interesting ability has been discovered. They can see with their hands. Test subject, Jennifer. Human female. Problematic test subject, kind of a bitch, but proved useful for testing. Also useful for human slang phrases, annotated as such. Test subject was led into a room by a severely dented and mangled human handling robot. What is this room? What are we doing this time? I swear, you walking toaster, if this is another— oh, can the monkey girl figure it out this time? Test, I'm gonna wreck your stupid little face even more. The human handling robot was in need of some serious repair at this point. See case study, improvised weaponry, and third fulcrum any tool. Swing for the fence's attack methodology. The room was black, with sound-absorbing coating on all surfaces. There were obstacles scattered across the floor and ceiling, and stub-toe, bankshin, and bonk-head heights. Jennifer side-eyed the robot with a glare. Oh, this is gonna hurt this time, buddy. Anomaly, robot, glitch, appeared on Shy Away and Wince. Investigate unprogrammed anthropomorphic reaction to later time. Jennifer glanced around the room, with that particular frenetic eye movement found to be mapping the room behavior. See, stitching together surroundings in mind through limited eye focal apparatus. An amazing study. The robot turned and locked the door and held up a complete key in front of Jennifer. The robot disassembled the key into 3 separate parts in front of Jennifer, who watched with a pretended disinterest, but those keen eyes were not fooling anyone. The robot then threw one key piece in one corner, tossed another into a high shelf in another corner, and the third piece it dropped into this container holding many other objects of similar size but random shapes, and stirred the contents around. Jennifer made a face. Not so hot. Hey! As the lights turned off, rendering the space completely dark, and the robot spun her in circles several times before quickly backing away to stand by the door. The test began. Scanners and sensors measured every action Jennifer took, paying particular attention to her hands. She was at first uncertain of her location, still disoriented a bit from the spinning, a known human weakness, see inner ear semicircular canal fluid agitation. She stood still in place, waiting for the canal fluids to settle, then reached out with her hands, slowly spinning in a circle. We understand this to be benchmarking behavior. Jennifer had a memory of the room's layout in her mind and still from previous eye scan, but had yet to figure out her position in that room again. She did this with her hands, reaching out and bumping against the obstacles. Then her hands slid along the obstacle's edge to sense its edges and corners. Study notes eyeball scan map of the room is not 100% perfect. As she struck her head on the bonk head obstacle, as she stood there rubbing the side of her head, she began to talk to herself. She was observed to alter her voice to one mimicking a wren from an Earth TV cartoon show she requested in her holding cell. Oh, what am I going to do to you? The robot actually twitched, and Jennifer's head also twitched and snapped at an angle at the slight noise. A creepy smile spread across her face. That noise seemed to have given Jennifer the location of the door. Clever monkey girl. As her hands touched more and more obstacles, her movements through the room got more and more certain. Finally, her hand touched the wall of the space, an apparent goal of her initial search. She paused with her hand on the wall, smile spreading to a minor victory. She started speaking in a calm, drawn-out sigh, with a slight Spanish accent. "I'm so hungry. First, I'm gonna tear your speaker off." Her hand gently touched the wall as she rapidly walked around the room to the first corner where a piece of the key was tossed. Her toe bumped the key piece and she paused. "Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do." She crouched down and felt around before picking up the key piece. The key piece was fidgeted with in her hands, turning several ways. This was found to be the hand's 3D modeling of the shape of the object in her mind. One hand trailed the wall still, her calm anger in her voice. "And then I'm going to gouge your eye sensors out." As she made her way around the room to the other side where she remembered the other key was tossed, in complete darkness. She flipped the piece of the key she had in her hand with the other hand, catching it repeatedly in little baseball tosses while walking. "Yep, that's what I'm going to do." Jennifer observed to have very precise hand key locations tracking in her mind, practically seeing it without needing to see it. She stopped directly under the shelf. How Jennifer knew the exact location of the shelf on the other side of the room is testament to initial brief eye scanning and mapping memory. Human minds are terrifying. See, well, all the case studies. She glanced blindly at the robot by the door and calmly said, "Yeah, you're scared, aren't you?" Note, this was after walking 3/4 of the room. Her glaring in the correct direction of the robot indicates that she was tracking its location the entire time, with zero feedback. Its shelf was high, so Jennifer had to jump to reach anything on it. "Next, I'm going to," she said as she jumped and swiped blindly at the left shelf, sending a piece of the key flying to the center of the room. She landed in half, disappointed, and made a motion with her arms saying, "Tear your arms out of the sockets." She got onto her hands and knees and began feeling around for the key part in the direction she heard it land. "And you want to know what else?" She found the other key piece quickly and said, "I'm gonna hit you," slamming a newly found key piece into the floor with a thump. Jennifer was silent while she felt around, refamiliarizing her location in the room after searching on the floor. She then alarmingly walked straight to the bin holding the last part of the key. Her hand reached into the mixed container of parts and started swimming around. Sensors focused intently on the hand in the bin. This is the case study root purpose, to learn just how. The hand briefly held an object, its 3 main fingers of the medium nerve group fitted this way and that around it, and quickly a 3D model in Jennifer's mind determined, nope, that's not it, based off of the memory of what the key pieces looked like. She dropped the object and stirred around for something different. Only after 3 grab and examine tries, the back of her thumb grazed the key piece, and that's all that it took. Her hand sensed the metal of the key piece like the predator, and the hand flipped it over, ignoring all other parts in the way, and immediately grabbed the key piece and pulled it out. Incredible. Holding the key piece up in front of her blind eyes, she resumed speaking, "And you're gonna fall." Jennifer held 3 key pieces in her hand, rolling her thumb this way and that. At one point, she paused and smiled as it somehow clicked in her mind, and she slid the key pieces together in 2 fluid movements. Again, note that the test subject was completely unable to see any of this. All actions were done with only her sense of touch and keen knowledge of exactly where and how her hands were positioned while holding the objects, and the memory of what the key looked like and how it was observed to come apart. Observed disassembly just once. Horrifyingly skilled tool usage, manipulation exhibited. As she walked to the door and robot, she calmly continued her little skit to amuse herself. "And I'm gonna look down," she sighed tiredly. She reached the door and felt around for the keyhole. Final test. There was no keyhole. Her hand scanned the entire door and outside frame and learned rather quickly that there was no place for the key. Her chin dropped to her chest, arms hung limp in weary despair. The key in her right hand twirled around like a butterfly knife for a bit. Note, as if she held the tool for years. See, new tool neuroplasticity. Finally coming to rest in a sturdy, stubby screwdriver grip, and turned slowly to the robot. "And I'm gonna laugh," she stated with a slow, calm, resigned wariness. At this point, we realized a huge mistake in the test setup. See, never give a hostile human a medal. Well, anything. Scanner and sensors in the room were quickly turned off. The test was complete. We really did not want to document what Jennifer proceeded to do to the robot. Already possesses voluminous case studies, improvised weaponry tools. It was clear by this point that the test subject had the room fully mapped, had the robot and all the vulnerable points fully modeled, all in a little nightmare fuel of a brain. Summary. Undetermined why anomalous medium nerve and brain internal mapping and modeling was evolved to such a high degree in human species. No logical reason presents itself. Theory. Just to give us nightmares. Subnote. Inquiry into why 1990s kids' cartoons were quite so terrifying. Alarm! Realization. How are we going to get the key back from Jennifer? And also, all the robot parts. We see she's already made a light in there. This, could be bad. End of story. And